Hey there, fantasy football fanatics! Welcome back to another exhilarating week of fantasy football. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a newcomer to the game, there's always something that keeps us all on the edge of our seats. The unpredictability, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. It's what makes this game so captivating and why we keep coming back for more. Week 4 is in the books, and let me tell you, it was a wild one. From the first kickoff to the final whistle, the action was non-stop. We witnessed some jaw-dropping plays, unexpected turnarounds, and moments that left us all in awe. The excitement was palpable, and the energy in the stadiums was electric. We saw some incredible performances, shocking upsets, and those head-scratching moments that make you question your entire fantasy football existence. One minute you're on top of the world, and the next you're scratching your head, wondering what just happened. It's the nature of the game, and it's what keeps us all hooked. But hey, that's why we love this game, right? The unpredictability, the drama, the sheer thrill of not knowing what's going to happen next. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and we wouldn't have it any other way. The joy of a last-minute touchdown, the heartbreak of a missed field goal, it's all part of the experience. The thrill of the unexpected, the agony of defeat, and the sweet, sweet taste of victory. It's a mix of emotions that only fantasy football can provide. One moment you're celebrating a win, and the next, you're dealing with the sting of a loss. But through it all, we keep coming back, week after week, for the love of the game. It's a roller coaster ride every single week, and this one was no exception. The ups and downs, the twists and turns, it's all part of the journey. And just like a roller coaster, you never know what's coming next. One minute you're climbing to the top, and the next, you're plunging down at breakneck speed. It's exhilarating, it's thrilling, and it's why we love fantasy football. Whether you're riding high after a dominant win or licking your wounds after a tough loss, remember, it's just 1 week. The season is long, and anything can happen. One bad week doesn't define your season, and one great week doesn't guarantee success. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and the key is to stay focused and keep pushing forward. We've got a long season ahead, and anything can happen. Injuries, trades, breakout performances, and unexpected slumps. It's all part of the game. The key is to stay adaptable, keep an eye on the waiver wire, and always be ready to make a move. The fantasy football landscape is constantly changing, and the most successful managers are the ones who can navigate the twists and turns. So, buckle up, grab your lucky jersey, and let's dive into the madness that was Week 4 of fantasy football. From the standout performances to the biggest surprises, we've got it all covered. We'll break down the key moments, analyze the top players, and give you the insights you need to dominate your league. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an action-packed recap of all the excitement from Week 4. Let's get started. As we dive into the details, let's start with some of the standout performances that had everyone talking. There were a few players who really stepped up and delivered in a big way. Whether it was a star quarterback throwing for over 400 yards or a running back breaking multiple tackles on his way to the end zone, these performances were nothing short of spectacular. One of the biggest stories of the week was the performance of the star quarterback who threw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. His precision passing and ability to read the defense were on full display, and he made it look effortless. It was a masterclass in quarterback play, and it left fantasy managers who had him in their lineup grinning from ear to ear. Another standout performance came from a running back who broke multiple tackles on his way to a 75-yard touchdown run. His combination of speed, power, and agility was a sight to behold, and it left defenders grasping at air. It was a game-changing play that swung the momentum in his team's favor and had fantasy managers celebrating. And let's not forget about the wide receiver who made a one-handed catch in the end zone. It was a highlight reel play that showcased his incredible athleticism and hand-eye coordination. The catch was so impressive that it had fans and analysts alike buzzing, and it was a reminder of why we love this game. But it wasn't just the big names who made an impact this week. There were also a few under-the-radar players who stepped up and delivered when it mattered most. These are the players who often go overlooked, but can make all the difference in a fantasy matchup. Whether it was a backup running back filling in for an injured starter or a rookie wide receiver making the most of his opportunities, These performances were crucial. One such player was a backup running back who stepped in and delivered a clutch performance. With the starting running back sidelined due to injury, he seized the opportunity and ran with it, literally. He racked up over 100 yards and scored 2 touchdowns, proving that he's more than capable of carrying the load. It was a breakout performance that had fantasy managers scrambling to add him to their rosters. Another under-the-radar player who made a big impact was a rookie wide receiver who caught 2 touchdown passes. Despite being a late-round pick in the draft, he showed that he has the talent and potential to be a star in this league. His chemistry with the quarterback was evident, and he made the most of his opportunities. It was a performance that put him on the fantasy radar and had managers taking notice. Of course, with the highs come the lows, and there were a few players who didn't quite live up to expectations this week. Whether it was due to injury, poor performance, or just bad luck, these players left fantasy managers feeling frustrated. But as we all know, it's a long season, and there's plenty of time for them to bounce back. One of the biggest disappointments of the week was a star wide receiver who was held to just 2 catches for 20 yards. Despite being one of the top players at his position, he struggled to get open and was largely shut down by the defense. It was a tough outing for him and his fantasy managers, but it's important to remember that even the best players have off days. Another player who had a rough week was a running back who was held to just 30 yards on the ground. Despite being a key part of his team's offense, he couldn't find any running room and was constantly met by defenders in the backfield. It was a frustrating performance, but it's important to keep things in perspective and not overreact to one bad game. And then there were the injuries, which are always a part of the game but never easy to deal with. This week saw a few key players go down with injuries, leaving fantasy managers scrambling to find replacements. It's a reminder of how unpredictable and challenging fantasy football can be, and why it's so important to have depth on your roster. One of the most significant injuries of the week was to a star quarterback who left the game with a shoulder injury. His absence was felt immediately, as the offense struggled to move the ball without him. It's a tough blow for his fantasy managers, but it's important to stay positive and look for potential replacements on the waiver wire. Another key injury was to a top running back who left the game with a knee injury. He had been having a great season up to that point, and his absence will be felt by both his team and his fantasy managers. It's a reminder of how quickly things can change in fantasy football and why it's so important to stay on top of the latest news and updates. Despite the injuries and disappointments, there were also plenty of bright spots and reasons for optimism. The performances of the under-the-radar players, the breakout stars, and the thrilling moments all made for an exciting week of fantasy football. It's a reminder of why we love this game and why we keep coming back for more. As we look ahead to the rest of the season, there are plenty of reasons to be excited. The unpredictability, the drama, and the sheer thrill of fantasy football make it one of the most captivating games out there. So whether you're riding high after a big win or looking to bounce back after a tough loss, remember to stay focused, stay positive, and keep pushing forward. The season is long and anything can happen. So buckle up, grab your lucky jersey, and get ready for the ride of your life. Fantasy football is a roller coaster, and we're just getting started. Let's dive into the madness, the excitement, and the thrill of the unexpected. Here's to a great season and many more unforgettable moments. Let's go! And that's a wrap on Week 4 of Fantasy Football. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for more action, analysis, and excitement. Until then, keep playing, keep cheering, and keep loving the game. See you next time. Fantasy football is more than just a game. It's an emotional roller coaster. One minute you're celebrating a touchdown, the next you're cursing a fumble. That's the beauty of it though. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, constantly strategizing and always guessing. Week 4 was a prime example of this unpredictable nature. We saw unexpected heroes emerge, established stars falter, and everything in between. It was a week that reminded us why we spend countless hours researching, drafting, and tweaking our rosters. So, whether you're a seasoned veteran or a first-time player, always expect the unexpected in the world of fantasy football. This ain't your grandma's fantasy league, folks. This is the big leagues, where every point matters, every decision counts, and bragging rights are on the line. It's a jungle out there, and only the strong survive. But fear not, my friends, because I'm here to be your guide. Consider me your fantasy football Sherpa, leading you through the treacherous terrain of waiver wire claims, trade negotiations, and lineup dilemmas. We're going to break down the Week 4 results, analyze the key takeaways, and equip you with the knowledge and strategies to dominate your league. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's set the stage with a quick recap of Week 4. We had some nail-biting finishes, high-scoring shootouts, and defensive struggles that left fantasy managers both elated and deflated. From breakout performances to unexpected duds, Week 4 had it all. Now, let's take a closer look at the key storylines that shaped the week and get you prepped for what's ahead in Week 5. Let's start with the obvious, shall we? Patrick Mahomes, the reigning MVP, once again proved why he's the top quarterback in fantasy football and arguably the entire NFL. The man is a walking, talking highlight reel, throwing darts all over the field and making even the most complex throws look effortless. Mahomes put on a clinic in Week 4, racking up over 350 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, leaving fantasy managers doing their best victory dances. If you were lucky enough to have Mahomes on your roster, congrats, you probably cruised to an easy victory. The man is a cheat code, plain and simple. Remember that rookie wide receiver you were on the fence about drafting? The one with all the potential but hadn't quite put it together yet? Well, Week 4 was his coming out party. This rookie sensation torched opposing defenses, hauling in a ridiculous number of catches for over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fantasy managers who took a gamble on this young star were rewarded handsomely. His performance sent shockwaves through the fantasy football landscape and put everyone on notice. This kid is the real deal. The running back position, the source of both immense joy and utter frustration for fantasy managers. Week 4 was a perfect example of the unpredictable nature of this position. Some of the biggest names in the game stumbled, while others emerged from the shadows to carry their teams to victory. It was a classic case of running back roulette, where you never know who's going to hit the jackpot. We saw unexpected breakouts, frustrating injuries, and everything in between. It's enough to make your head spin. In one of the biggest upsets of Week 4, the Arizona Cardinals pulled off a stunning victory over the heavily favored San Francisco 49ers. This game had major implications for both the NFC West race and the fantasy football landscape. The Cardinals' offense, led by quarterback Kyler Murray and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, came alive in the second half, putting up points in bunches. Meanwhile, the 49ers' high-powered offense sputtered, leaving fantasy managers questioning everything they thought they knew. This upset served as a reminder that in the NFL and in fantasy football, anything can happen on any given Sunday, or Monday night, or Thursday night. Travis Kelce, the undisputed king of the tight end position, continued his reign of dominance in Week 4, putting up another monster performance. Kelce is a matchup nightmare for opposing defenses, and he consistently finds ways to get open and make big plays. Week in and week out, Kelce proves why he's the top tight end in fantasy football and a true game changer for any team lucky enough to have him. If you drafted Kelce this year, you're probably sitting pretty in your league. He's a true difference maker. Christian McCaffrey, the consensus #1 pick in most fantasy drafts, had a rather pedestrian Week 4, leaving fantasy managers scratching their heads. McCaffrey didn't look like his usual explosive self, and his lack of production was a major disappointment for those who invested heavily in him. Now, before you hit the panic button, it's important to remember that even the best players have off games. McCaffrey is still one of the most talented running backs in the league, and it's only a matter of time before he bounces back. However, his Week 4 performance does raise some concerns, and it's something to keep an eye on moving forward. The Miami Dolphins continued their surprising start to the season, notching another impressive victory in Week 4. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is starting to silence his doubters, and wide receiver Jalen Waddle looks like a legitimate WR1 in fantasy football. The Dolphins' offense is explosive and fun to watch, and they're quickly becoming a must-start fantasy team. If you're looking for some under-the-radar fantasy options, look no further than South Florida. While we often focus on the offensive side of the ball in fantasy football, Week 4 reminded us that defense wins championships. Several defenses stepped up in a major way, racking up sacks, turnovers, and even touchdowns. Having a strong defense can be the difference between winning and losing in fantasy football, so it's important to give this position the attention it deserves. Don't overlook the impact a dominant defense can have on your fantasy team's success. One of the most exciting aspects of fantasy football is finding hidden gems on the waiver wire who can bolster your roster. Week 4 was no different, as several unrostered players emerged as potential fantasy stars. These waiver wire wonders may have been overlooked in drafts, but they're making a name for themselves on the field and in fantasy leagues across the country. If you're looking to upgrade your roster, the waiver wire is a great place to start. As we wrap up our recap of Week 4, let's take a moment to reflect on some of the key takeaways that will help us navigate the rest of the fantasy football season. From unexpected breakouts to disappointing duds, Week 4 provided plenty of lessons for fantasy managers to learn from. Remember, fantasy football is a marathon, not a sprint. Stay informed, be strategic, and never give up on your team, no matter how bleak things may seem. The injury bug bites, navigating the injury report. Let's face it, injuries are an unfortunate part of football, both in the real world and in the fantasy realm. Week 4 saw its fair share of bumps, bruises, and worse, leaving fantasy managers scrambling for replacements and adjusting their game plans. From hamstring strains to concussions, the injury bug can strike at any moment, derailing even the most promising of fantasy seasons. It's enough to make you want to wrap your star players in bubble wrap, but don't despair. While we can't prevent injuries, we can certainly learn to navigate them effectively. Staying informed about the latest injury reports and having backup plans in place is crucial for fantasy success. We've all been there. That sinking feeling when a player you drafted high or were counting on for a big week completely lays an egg. Week 4 had its share of head-scratching performances, leaving fantasy managers wondering, what happened? Was it a bad matchup, a lingering injury, or just plain old bad luck? Whatever the reason, it's important to analyze these disappointing performances and try to separate the flukes from the trends. Don't be afraid to dig deeper, consult the experts, and perhaps even have a heart-to-heart with your underperforming players. Okay, maybe not that last one. Reality check. Remember all that excitement we had about those rookie studs just a few weeks ago? Well, the NFL season is a marathon, not a sprint, and sometimes those rookie sensations hit a wall. Whether it's the increased competition, the longer schedule, or just the adjustment to the pro game, rookie performance can fluctuate. Don't be too quick to jump ship on a talented rookie who's struggling, but also be realistic about their potential impact. Remember, development isn't always linear, and sometimes a step back is necessary for 2 steps forward. We all hate to admit it, but sometimes we make bad draft picks. It's inevitable. But how do you know when a slow start is just a bump in the road versus a sign of things to come? Analyzing the why behind a player's struggles is crucial. Is it a change in offensive scheme? A decrease in playing time? Or something more concerning? Identifying trends and patterns can help you determine if it's time to cut bait or hold on for a potential turnaround. Avoiding overreactions. Fantasy football is an emotional roller coaster, and it's easy to overreact to a bad week or even just a bad game. But before you blow up your roster or make any rash decisions, take a deep breath and remember, it's a long season. One bad week doesn't mean your season is over. In fact, some of the most successful fantasy managers are those who can stay calm under pressure and make rational decisions. So, before you hit that panic button, take a step back, assess the situation, and remember, fortune favors the bold, but also the patient. The weekly lineup dilemma, the bane of every fantasy manager's existence. Who do you start? Who do you bench? It's enough to keep you up at night, staring at your phone, second-guessing every decision. There's no magic formula for making the perfect lineup decisions, but there are strategies you can employ to increase your chances of success. Analyze matchups, consider recent performance trends, and don't be afraid to trust your gut. And hey, if it doesn't work out, there's always next week to try again. The trade deadline is looming, and now is the time to start working the phones, or more likely, the fantasy app chat, and see if you can swing a deal to improve your team. The key to successful trading is identifying undervalued assets, buy low, and players who might be due for a regression, sell high. Don't be afraid to negotiate and explore different options. Remember, a well-timed trade can make all the difference down the stretch. Section 8. Salvaging your season. Turning things around. If your team is struggling, don't despair. It's not too late to turn things around. The first step is to identify the root of the problem. Is it a lack of depth at a certain position? Too many inconsistent performers? Once you've identified the weaknesses, you can start exploring options for improvement, whether it's scouring the waiver wire, proposing trades, or simply making smarter lineup decisions. Remember, even the best fantasy teams face adversity, but it's how you respond that defines your season. Section 9. Week 5 Preview. Potential pitfalls to watch. As we look ahead to Week 5, there are a few potential pitfalls fantasy managers should be aware of. Key injuries, unexpected bye weeks, and tough matchups can all derail your best-laid plans. Staying informed and being prepared to adjust your strategy is crucial for navigating these challenges. Remember, flexibility is key in the ever-changing landscape of fantasy football. Keep your eyes peeled, stay informed, and don't be afraid to make tough decisions. Section 10. Stay in the game. Consistency is key. Fantasy football is a marathon, not a sprint. Some weeks you'll be celebrating victory, while other weeks you'll be left licking your wounds. The key is to stay consistent, make smart decisions, and never give up on your team. Remember, even if things aren't going your way right now, there's still plenty of time to turn it around. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, have fun. Section 1. The waiver wire. Your secret weapon. Alright, fantasy fanatics, let's talk about everyone's favorite midweek activity. Scouring the waiver wire for hidden gems. The waiver wire is the lifeblood of any successful fantasy football team. It's where you can find those under-the-radar players who can turn your season around. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a newcomer to the fantasy football world, mastering the waiver wire is crucial. It's not just about picking up players, it's about strategy, timing, and a bit of luck. Let's dive deeper into how you can make the most of this essential tool. The waiver wire is like a treasure chest, full of potential breakout stars just waiting to be unleashed on your starting lineup. Imagine it as a vast ocean, teeming with hidden treasures beneath the surface. Each week, new opportunities arise as players get injured, underperform, or simply go unnoticed. Your job is to sift through the noise and find those diamonds in the rough. It's a thrilling hunt, and when you strike gold, it can be the difference between a win and a loss. Whether you're dealing with injuries, bye weeks, or simply looking for an upgrade, the waiver wire is your secret weapon for fantasy dominance. Injuries are an inevitable part of football, and they can wreak havoc on your fantasy team. But with the waiver wire, you can quickly adapt and find replacements. Bye weeks can also be challenging, as you need to fill gaps in your lineup. And sometimes, you just need a fresh face to inject some life into your team. The waiver wire is your go-to resource for all these scenarios. Every week, unheralded players emerge from the depths of obscurity to become fantasy heroes. These are the players who were overlooked in the draft, but suddenly find themselves in the spotlight. Maybe it's a backup running back who gets a chance due to an injury, or a rookie wide receiver who finally gets his shot. These players can provide a huge boost to your team, and they're often available on the waiver wire. It's all about staying informed and being ready to pounce when the opportunity arises. Remember that rookie wide receiver who exploded onto the scene in Week 4? He was a complete unknown before the season started, but now he's a household name. These breakout performances are what make fantasy football so exciting. And the best part? You can be the one to discover these hidden gems. By keeping a close eye on the waiver wire, you can stay ahead of the competition and snag these players before anyone else. Chances are, he was available on waivers just a few days prior. This is why it's so important to stay active and engaged throughout the season. Don't just set your lineup and forget about it. Keep checking the waiver wire, even if you think your team is set. You never know when a game-changing player might become available. And when you do find that hidden gem, the feeling of adding them to your roster is unbeatable. So, don't be afraid to dig deep, analyze those snap counts, and take a chance on a player with upside. It's not just about picking the most popular players. It's about finding the ones who have the potential to break out. Look at their usage, their matchups, and their recent performances. Sometimes, a player might not have the best stats, but if they're getting a lot of playing time, they could be on the verge of a breakout. Trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to take risks. The waiver wire can make or break your season, so make it your best friend. It's a dynamic and ever-changing landscape, and those who can navigate it successfully will have a significant advantage. Stay informed, stay active, and most importantly, have fun. Fantasy football is all about enjoying the game and the camaraderie that comes with it. So, embrace the waiver wire and let it be your secret weapon to fantasy football glory. Now, let's delve even deeper into the strategies and tips that can help you master the waiver wire. First and foremost, timing is everything. The waiver wire process typically runs on a weekly cycle, with players being added and dropped based on their performance and potential. Knowing when to make your move is crucial. Most leagues have a specific day and time when the waiver wire opens, usually after the Monday night game. This is when you need to be ready to pounce. One effective strategy is to set a reminder or alarm for the waiver wire opening. This way, you can be one of the first to make a claim on a player. Being proactive rather than reactive can give you a significant edge over your competitors. Additionally, pay attention to the waiver priority system in your league. Some leagues use a rolling waiver priority, where the team with the lowest priority moves to the top after making a claim. Others use a continuous rolling list, where the priority remains the same until a claim is made. Understanding how your league's waiver system works can help you plan your moves more effectively. Another key aspect of mastering the waiver wire is research. Stay informed about player injuries, team dynamics, and upcoming matchups. Follow reliable fantasy football analysts and websites for insights and recommendations. Social media platforms like Twitter can also be valuable sources of real-time information. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions. When evaluating potential waiver wire pickups, consider the player's role on their team. Are they a starter or a backup? Are they involved in the passing game or primarily a runner? Look at their recent performance trends and how they've been utilized in their team's game plan. Snap counts, target shares, and red zone opportunities are all important factors to consider. A player who is heavily involved in their team's offense is more likely to provide consistent fantasy production. It's also important to consider the player's upcoming schedule. Some players may have favorable matchups in the coming weeks, making them more attractive waiver wire targets. Conversely, if a player has a tough schedule ahead, you might want to think twice before adding them to your roster. Matchup analysis can be a valuable tool in your waiver wire strategy. Don't be afraid to take calculated risks on the waiver wire. Sometimes, a player with high upside may be worth the gamble, even if they come with some uncertainty. For example, a rookie running back who has shown flashes of brilliance but hasn't yet secured a starting role could be a great stash on your bench. If they eventually earn more playing time, they could become a valuable asset for your team. In addition to individual player analysis, consider the overall landscape of your league. Pay attention to the moves your competitors are making. If you notice a trend of certain types of players being added or dropped, it can give you insights into the strategies of your opponents. This information can help you anticipate their moves and stay one step ahead. Another advanced strategy is to use the waiver wire to block your opponents. If you see that a rival team is in desperate need of a particular position, you can strategically add players to prevent them from strengthening their roster. This tactic requires careful planning and a deep understanding of your league's dynamics, but it can be a powerful tool in your arsenal. Finally, don't forget about the importance of roster management. The waiver wire is not just about adding players, it's also about making tough decisions on who to drop. Sometimes, you may need to part ways with a player who has underperformed or is no longer a key part of their team's game plan. Be willing to make these difficult choices to keep your roster competitive and flexible. In conclusion, the waiver wire is an essential component of fantasy football success. It's a dynamic and ever-changing landscape that requires constant attention and strategic thinking. By staying informed, being proactive, and making calculated decisions, you can turn the waiver wire into your secret weapon for fantasy dominance. So, embrace the challenge, enjoy the thrill of the hunt, and let the waiver wire guide you to victory. Happy hunting, fantasy fanatics! Sometimes, the best way to improve your team is to shake things up a bit. That's where the art of the trade comes in. Don't be afraid to be that fantasy manager who's always working the phones, or more likely, the fantasy app chat, exploring potential deals to upgrade your roster. Remember, every manager values players differently, and what might seem like a fair trade to you could be an absolute steal in the eyes of another manager. Do your research, identify players who might be overperforming or underperforming on their current teams, and don't be afraid to send out some trade offers. You never know what kind of magic you might be able to work. One of the most crucial aspects of setting your weekly lineup is understanding matchups. This is not just about knowing who your best players are, but also about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the opposing teams. Each week, NFL teams face different opponents, and these matchups can significantly impact player performance. By analyzing these matchups, you can make more informed decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can be the difference between winning and losing your fantasy football matchup. Don't just blindly plug in your studs and hope for the best. While it's tempting to always start your top draft picks, this strategy can backfire if they are facing a tough defense. Instead, take a more strategic approach. Look at the matchups and consider how they might affect your player's performance. For example, if your star quarterback is going up against the league's top pass defense, it might be worth considering a backup with a more favorable matchup. This kind of strategic thinking can give you a significant edge over your competition. Take the time to research which of your players have favorable matchups and which ones might be in for a long day. This involves looking at a variety of factors, including the opposing team's defensive rankings, recent performance, and any injuries that might affect the game. There are many resources available to help with this research, including fantasy football websites, podcasts, and expert analysis. By staying informed and doing your homework, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. For example, if your star running back is facing a defense that's known for shutting down the run, it might be wise to consider a different option that week. This doesn't mean you should automatically bench your top players, but rather that you should weigh the risks and rewards of each matchup. Sometimes, a backup player with a favorable matchup can outscore a star player facing a tough defense. By being flexible and willing to make tough decisions, you can maximize your team's potential each week. On the other hand, if your backup wide receiver has a juicy matchup against a porous secondary, it might be time to unleash him as a sneaky flex play. This is where understanding matchups can really pay off. By identifying favorable matchups, you can find hidden gems on your roster and take advantage of opportunities that other managers might overlook. This can give you a significant edge and help you rack up more points each week. Remember, knowledge is power in fantasy football, and understanding matchups can give you a significant edge. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and increase your chances of winning. This is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and developments in the NFL. Injuries, weather conditions, and coaching changes can all impact player performance and matchups. By staying informed, you can make last-minute adjustments to your lineup and take advantage of any new opportunities that arise. This can be especially important in the days leading up to game day, when new information can come to light. Another key aspect of exploiting favorable matchups is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team. This means knowing which of your players are consistent performers and which ones are more boom or bust. By understanding your own team's dynamics, you can make more strategic decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can help you maximize your points each week and give you a better chance of winning. It's also important to consider the overall strategy of your fantasy football league. Different leagues have different scoring systems and rules, which can impact the value of certain players and matchups. By understanding the specific rules and scoring system of your league, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and take advantage of any unique opportunities that arise. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and help you achieve success in your league. In conclusion, exploiting favorable matchups is a crucial aspect of fantasy football strategy. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, staying informed on the latest news and developments, and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and increase your chances of winning. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Remember, fantasy football is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. By understanding matchups and making informed decisions about your lineup, you can maximize your points each week and give yourself the best chance of success. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and developments in the NFL. Injuries, weather conditions, and coaching changes can all impact player performance and matchups. By staying informed, you can make last-minute adjustments to your lineup and take advantage of any new opportunities that arise. This can be especially important in the days leading up to game day, when new information can come to light. Another key aspect of exploiting favorable matchups is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team. This means knowing which of your players are consistent performers and which ones are more boom or bust. By understanding your own team's dynamics, you can make more strategic decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can help you maximize your points each week and give you a better chance of winning. It's also important to consider the overall strategy of your fantasy football league. Different leagues have different scoring systems and rules, which can impact the value of certain players and matchups. By understanding the specific rules and scoring system of your league, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and take advantage of any unique opportunities that arise. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and help you achieve success in your league. In conclusion, exploiting favorable matchups is a crucial aspect of fantasy football strategy. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, staying informed on the latest news and developments, and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and increase your chances of winning. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Remember, fantasy football is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. By understanding matchups and making informed decisions about your lineup, you can maximize your points each week and give yourself the best chance of success. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and developments in the NFL. Injuries, weather conditions, and coaching changes can all impact player performance and matchups. By staying informed, you can make last-minute adjustments to your lineup and take advantage of any new opportunities that arise. This can be especially important in the days leading up to game day, when new information can come to light. Another key aspect of exploiting favorable matchups is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team. This means knowing which of your players are consistent performers and which ones are more boom or bust. By understanding your own team's dynamics, you can make more strategic decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can help you maximize your points each week and give you a better chance of winning. It's also important to consider the overall strategy of your fantasy football league. Different leagues have different scoring systems and rules, which can impact the value of certain players and matchups. By understanding the specific rules and scoring system of your league, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and take advantage of any unique opportunities that arise. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and help you achieve success in your league. In conclusion, exploiting favorable matchups is a crucial aspect of fantasy football strategy. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, staying informed on the latest news and developments, and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and increase your chances of winning. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Remember, fantasy football is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. By understanding matchups and making informed decisions about your lineup, you can maximize your points each week and give yourself the best chance of success. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and developments in the NFL. Injuries, weather conditions, and coaching changes can all impact player performance and matchups. By staying informed, you can make last-minute adjustments to your lineup and take advantage of any new opportunities that arise. This can be especially important in the days leading up to game day, when new information can come to light. Another key aspect of exploiting favorable matchups is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team. This means knowing which of your players are consistent performers and which ones are more boom or bust. By understanding your own team's dynamics, you can make more strategic decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can help you maximize your points each week and give you a better chance of winning. It's also important to consider the overall strategy of your fantasy football league. Different leagues have different scoring systems and rules, which can impact the value of certain players and matchups. By understanding the specific rules and scoring system of your league, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and take advantage of any unique opportunities that arise. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and help you achieve success in your league. In conclusion, exploiting favorable matchups is a crucial aspect of fantasy football strategy. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, staying informed on the latest news and developments, and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and increase your chances of winning. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Remember, fantasy football is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. By understanding matchups and making informed decisions about your lineup, you can maximize your points each week and give yourself the best chance of success. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and developments in the NFL. Injuries, weather conditions, and coaching changes can all impact player performance and matchups. By staying informed, you can make last-minute adjustments to your lineup and take advantage of any new opportunities that arise. This can be especially important in the days leading up to game day, when new information can come to light. Another key aspect of exploiting favorable matchups is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team. This means knowing which of your players are consistent performers and which ones are more boom or bust. By understanding your own team's dynamics, you can make more strategic decisions about who to start and who to sit. This can help you maximize your points each week and give you a better chance of winning. It's also important to consider the overall strategy of your fantasy football league. Different leagues have different scoring systems and rules, which can impact the value of certain players and matchups. By understanding the specific rules and scoring system of your league, you can make more informed decisions about your lineup and take advantage of any unique opportunities that arise. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and help you achieve success in your league. In conclusion, exploiting favorable matchups is a crucial aspect of fantasy football strategy. By taking the time to research and analyze matchups, staying informed on the latest news and developments, and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, you can make more strategic decisions about your lineup each week. This can give you a significant edge over your competition and increase your chances of winning. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Remember, fantasy football is not just about luck, but about strategy and preparation. By understanding matchups and making informed decisions about your lineup, you can maximize your points each week and give yourself the best chance of success. So, take the time to do your homework, stay informed, and make the most of your matchups each week. This can be the key to a successful fantasy football season. Additionally, it's important to stay updated on the latest news and in the ever-changing world of fantasy football, momentum matters. Sometimes you just have to ride the hot hand. If a player is on a tear, putting up big numbers week after week, don't overthink it. Start them. Of course, you don't want to completely abandon your preseason rankings or ignore long-term trends, but sometimes you have to trust your gut and go with the player who's feeling it. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The dreaded injury report. It's the bane of every fantasy manager's existence, a constant source of anxiety and frustration. One minute you're riding high with a healthy roster, the next minute your star player is listed as questionable with a mysterious toe injury. The key to navigating the injury report is staying informed. Check it religiously, monitor those practice reports, and be prepared to pivot if necessary. Don't be afraid to stash a handcuff running back or a high upside backup on your bench, just in case one of your starters goes down. Remember, in the world of fantasy football, the injury report is both friend and foe. Be prepared for anything. Bye weeks are an inevitable part of the fantasy football season, and they can really throw a wrench into your plans if you're not prepared. Don't let those empty roster spots sneak up on you. Start planning for bye weeks early in the season. Identify which of your players have buys in the same week, and try to target players on the waiver wire or via trade who can fill those gaps. Remember, a little bit of foresight can go a long way in fantasy football. In today's NFL, where offensive schemes are constantly evolving and players are emerging from seemingly nowhere, streaming has become a viable strategy, especially at positions like quarterback, tight end, and even defense. Streaming involves picking up and playing different players each week based on matchups, recent performance, and upside potential, rather than relying on the same set of starters week in and week out. It's a bit more time-consuming, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. So don't be afraid to embrace the streaming life and maximize the potential of your roster. Fantasy football is a game of numbers, analysis, and strategy, but sometimes you just have to trust your gut. If you have a hunch about a player, a certain matchup, or a risky lineup decision, don't be afraid to go with it. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones that come from the heart, or in this case, the gut. Section 9. The art of the comeback. Turning losses into lessons. Let's face it, we're not going to win every week in fantasy football. Losses are part of the game, but it's how you respond to those losses that defines you as a fantasy manager. Don't let a tough loss get you down. Instead, use it as a learning opportunity. Analyze what went wrong, identify areas for improvement, and come back stronger the following week. Remember, even the best fantasy managers have experienced their fair share of setbacks. Section 10. Week 5. Time to shine. We've covered a lot of ground today, folks. We've talked about the importance of the waiver wire, the art of the trade, the significance of matchups, and the ever-present injury bug. Now, it's time to put all of that knowledge into action. Week 5 is a new opportunity to dominate your league, to prove your doubters wrong, and to climb those fantasy standings. So go forth, my fellow fantasy fanatics, and may your waiver wire claims be fruitful, your trades be savvy, and your starting lineups be unstoppable. It's time to show everyone what you're made of. All right, fantasy footballers, it's time to turn our attention to Week 5. The season is in full swing and the playoff picture is starting to take shape. Every game, every matchup, every single point matters now more than ever. As we dive into the Week 5 slate, we're looking for those juicy matchups, those potential shootouts, and those under-the-radar players who could be in for a big day. Remember, a little bit of research and strategic planning can go a long way in fantasy football. So grab your coffee, fire up those fantasy apps, and let's take a first look at what Week 5 has in store for us. The quarterback position is always a hot topic in fantasy football, and Week 5 is no different. We've got some established stars facing tough matchups, some young guns looking to continue their breakout seasons, and a few under-the-radar options who could be in for a big day. Remember, quarterback play can make or break your fantasy week, so it's crucial to stay informed about who's hot, who's not, and who might be worth a streaming option. We'll delve into the Week 5 quarterback landscape, analyzing matchups, recent performance trends, and potential sleepers who could lead your team to victory. The running back position, the source of both immense joy and utter frustration for fantasy managers. In Week 5, we're keeping a close eye on workloads, opportunities, and potential value plays in the backfield. Injuries, committee approaches, and even unexpected breakouts can make the running back landscape incredibly volatile. But fear not, fantasy friends, we're here to help you navigate the chaos. We'll break down the key backfield battles, analyze snap counts, and identify those diamonds in the rough who could be poised for a breakout performance. The wide receiver position is loaded with talent, making it both exciting and challenging for fantasy managers. In Week 5, we're on the lookout for potential breakout candidates, those under-the-radar receivers who could explode onto the scene. Whether it's a young player stepping into a larger role, a veteran receiver facing a favorable matchup, or simply a player who's due for some positive regression, the wide receiver position is always full of surprises. We'll highlight some intriguing wide receiver options for Week 5, providing insights and analysis to help you make those crucial lineup decisions. While the elite tight ends in fantasy football often dominate the headlines, finding value beyond the big names is crucial for building a championship-caliber roster. In Week 5, we're exploring the tight end landscape, looking for those sleepers, those streaming options, those diamonds in the rough who could provide a much-needed boost to your fantasy team. Remember, tight end production can be notoriously inconsistent, so identifying those undervalued players with favorable matchups is key. Section 6. Defense streamers. Exploiting favorable matchups. Streaming defenses has become a popular strategy in fantasy football, and for good reason. Exploiting favorable matchups can give your team a significant advantage, especially in those weeks when your regular defense has a tough opponent. In Week 5, we're highlighting some potential streaming candidates, defenses that might be available on waivers and have the potential to put up big points based on their upcoming opponents. Remember, a strong defensive performance can be the difference between winning and losing, so don't overlook the importance of streaming at this often overlooked position. Section 7. Injury updates, separating fact from fiction. As the season progresses, so too does the injury report. Staying informed about the latest injury news is crucial for making informed lineup decisions and navigating the ever-changing landscape of fantasy football. In Week 5, we're separating fact from fiction, providing the most up-to-date injury updates and analyzing their potential impact on your fantasy teams. Remember, a player's availability can change at a moment's notice, so staying ahead of the game is essential for fantasy success. Section 8. Bold predictions. Week 5, surprises on the horizon. Fantasy football is a game of unpredictability, and Week 5 is sure to have its share of surprises. We're making some bold predictions, forecasting those unexpected breakouts, those head-scratching duds, and those I can't believe that just happened moments that make this game so much fun. Remember, these are just predictions, but they're based on our analysis, our gut feelings, and our unwavering belief that anything can happen on any given Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night. So, buckle up, fantasy fans, and get ready for a wild ride in Week 5. Section 9. Get your popcorn ready. Must-watch games for fantasy fans. With so many exciting matchups on the Week 5 slate, it can be tough to decide which games to prioritize for your fantasy viewing pleasure. We're highlighting the must-watch games for fantasy fans, those contests that are loaded with star power, high-scoring potential, and major implications for your fantasy teams. Remember, watching the games is more than just about checking your fantasy scores. It's about enjoying the thrill of the NFL and witnessing those unforgettable moments that make this game so special.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard.
All right, fantasy footballers, we've reached the final huddle of our Week 4 recap and Week 5 preview. We've covered a lot of ground, from analyzing those shocking upsets to dissecting those head-scratching performances. We've explored the waiver wire, debated trade strategies, and even dared to make some bold predictions. But now, it's time to put all that knowledge into action. The fate of your fantasy team rests in your hands. You've got the power to make those tough lineup decisions, to swing that league-winning trade, to find that diamond in the rough on the waiver wire. Remember, fantasy football is a game of skill, strategy, and a little bit of luck. But ultimately, it's your decisions that will determine your destiny. The fantasy football season is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs, moments of triumph and moments of despair. You'll experience the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. But through it all, remember to embrace the grind. Enjoy the research, the strategizing, the trash talking with your league mates. Fantasy football is more than just a game. It's a community, a shared passion, a reason to celebrate or commiserate every Sunday, Monday night, and Thursday night. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, and remember, it's all about the journey, not just the destination. Section 3. Stay ahead of the game. Knowledge is power. In the world of fantasy football, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to make those crucial decisions that can mean the difference between a winning season and a disappointing one. Stay up to date on injury reports, analyze those matchups, track player trends, and don't be afraid to dive deep into the numbers. There's a wealth of information out there. From fantasy experts to online resources to the stat sheets themselves, use it to your advantage. Remember, the more you learn, the better you'll become at this game. And who knows, you might even impress your friends with your newfound fantasy football expertise. No matter how your fantasy season is going, whether you're sitting pretty atop the standings or struggling to stay afloat, remember this: never give up. The fantasy football season is long and unpredictable. Teams that start slow can heat up, and teams that seem unbeatable can falter. A well-timed trade, a savvy waiver wire pickup, or even just a little bit of luck can turn your season around in an instant. So keep your head up, stay engaged, and never lose sight of that championship dream. You never know what might happen. Section 5. See you on the leaderboard. That's all the time we have for today, Fantasy Fanatics. We hope you enjoyed our Week 4 recap and Week 5 preview. Remember to set those lineups, make those trades, and most importantly, have fun. We'll be back next week to break down all the action, analyze the biggest surprises, and help you navigate the ever-changing world of fantasy football. Until then, may your waiver wire claims be fruitful, your trades be savvy, and your starting lineups be unstoppable. Good luck, and may the fantasy gods be